This might be the cheapest way to learn how to drift legally. At less than $450, we're gonna get a full day of drifting action, which in theory is just for a bit of fun, but the instructors are actually gonna be judging us at the end of the day, so there's a bit of competitive heat as well. They're also going to be factoring in experience levels, so I'm going to really have to put in some hard work to be able to win this today.
Now, I'm a race car driver by trade, but last year I immersed myself in the world of drifting by flying to Japan with my friends, buying a drift car, and spending 12 days on track learning this dark art of motorsports. At the end of the trip, I even managed to successfully tandem with a legendary pro Japanese drifter, Daigo Saito. While that experience was incredible, I know I could have learned to drift for a whole lot less money somewhere else. When I heard about the Caterham Drift experience, which uses road legal race cars, I had to come try this for myself. The other advantage of this experience over Japan is that I'll have proper driving coaches alongside me to help me improve faster, and they've set up multiple courses that will increase in difficulty throughout the day. We've got 5 different levels to get through, all culminating in a 1-lap judged shootout at the end of this video, which you're not gonna wanna miss.
So without further ado, let's get sideways.
Level 1, the short track. Now, don't let the name fool you. Just because this is the first challenge of the day doesn't mean it's going to be easy. This is an autocross style slalom course that has several tight slow speed switchbacks to start and then a huge high speed sweeper to finish. When I went to Japan to learn how to drift, I didn't attempt anything like this until day 2, so here we are jumping straight into the deep end on lap 1. It's been about 8 months since my last drifting outing, so let's see how rusty I am.
Okay, mate.
Alright, straight off the bat, I'm falling into quite a lot of understeer, and I'm beginning to realize that this is going to be a lot harder than I expected. Then coming into the final high speed corner, it's looking a little bit better, but this wasn't the cleanest of runs.
That's tricky, these corners are tight. Whoa.
Yeah, it is tight, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you felt instantly you've sort of picked up some understeer,
Yeah.
so you charged in a little bit. Don't be afraid to use the brake. I didn't think I see the brake lights
Okay,
come on.
no,
there
I
at all.
didn't.
And that's, you know, obviously lifting transfers some weight forward,
Yeah.
but really you needed those front tyres to bite and get you
Yeah.
into the corner a little
Okay.
bit more. So in the middle of that gate, have that brake, and you'll feel that'll rotate the car a bit on its own anyway. Then you can pick up the throttle.
Okay.
That'll slow down the whole rhythm, and you'll have a bit more time to be
Makes
able to
sense.
do what you want to do.
Cool.
All right.
Makes sense, thanks.
Alright, lap 2, clearly this isn't a drift car, so I'm going to need to be a little bit more forceful with my inputs to get the car to actually slide, but it's much easier said than done. I've still got a long way to go, but hopefully a bit of coaching helps.
Yeah, a bit out of sequence for sure.
Yes, as soon as you're out of sequence, it's so difficult to get
very
back in,
difficult.
isn't it? And I think at the minute it's sort of being created by speed a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're coming, even though you're not dropping the clutch out of the box, you're coming out of the box quite hot.
Yeah.
And that means that instantly you're going quite fast at the
Yeah.
first gate. Just to strip it back to help you get the technique, just drive
Initiate
steady
from
to
the
the
next
box.
one?
Yeah, literally,
Yeah.
forget about pulling away fast.
Okay.
Get to the middle of that first gate. Use a little clutch kick there just to get the wheel spin, because I feel like if you get a bit more wheel spin, you're actually going to stop driving the car forward
Yeah,
as fast,
makes
and it will
sense.
slow the whole process down. So let's get to that first gate, drop the clutch, get some wheel spin, and then try and work the transfers rather than chasing it on the throttle the whole
Makes
time.
sense.
All right,
Got it, thanks.
Let's have another go.
This is why coaching is so useful, because as soon as Alex said that, I immediately thought back to when I started drifting in Japan and I was making the exact same mistake, so it became much easier to then fix them. Although there is quite a lot of overlap driving-wise between drifting and racing, you still kind of have to switch your brain into drift mode. And Alex's coaching really helped to do that.
That makes sense.
So
Makes
you see
sense.
how that you had that better rhythm, you know,
Much
and I
better.
think naturally you'll probably chase it with speed a little bit, but actually slowing the whole thing down gave you that more control, and you were able to link it all together.
Yeah.
Good job.
So first run done. Definitely feeling rusty from Japan, so still a lot of work to do, but man, is that fun. Let's see if we can get a little bit better though.
I'm definitely a little rusty, although really we're off to a great start. But with that being said, I really should be. Between the racing experience I have under my belt and last year's trip to Japan, I should already have a good baseline. I bet some of you are probably wondering, but what would a person with no experience look like on their first run? And that's where this guy comes in. This is Frank. my girlfriend's dad, who's recently picked up rental karting in an effort to prepare for a possible season in Caterham Academy. But having seen his driving in rental karts, I've banned him from entering a real racetrack until he's improved his car control. Hence the main reason we're here today.
Ready for your first drifting experience, Frank?
I'm not sure I'm ready, but I'll have a go at it. We'll see what happens.
Well, good luck.
Thank you. I need it.
We'll be watching.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, bloody hell.
Then it was time for Frank's first run, and let's just say I don't think he'll be getting any calls from Formula Drift teams just yet. And I must admit, the second run wasn't much better either.
Frank.
But after a bit of coaching, Frank's third lap already looked much more put together.
So, Frank, how was your first drifting experience?
It was interesting. I think at first my seat was right against the steering wheel, so that didn't help.
Oh, right.
But yeah, I think I was better at doing donuts than anything else. Really.
Well, you should be good at the figure eight then.
Yeah, that's right. So that's a natural skill for me, but controlling the car wasn't so great, really. So
well, another run, so let's see what you can do.
I'm going to persevere with this
Yeah.
and see if I can improve. Surely I can do better than Cameron, right?
Well, we'll find out. We got a competition at the end of the day.
Competition is on. No pressure.
Look, I promise I'm not trying to pick on Frank here. Most drivers are looking pretty similar so far. But with that being said, I definitely have some stiff competition too. I really have no idea who I'm up against, but I've already clocked on to a few people who look like they may have done this once or twice. The day is going to continually get harder and harder, so I need to absorb everything like a sponge to have a chance at winning this thing. On my second attempt at level 1, Alex and the other coaches encouraged me to produce more angle by doing more of the steering with the throttle instead of the wheel itself. And man, did we produce some angle. Maybe a little too much. And just like that, level 1 is complete and we're on to level 2, the figure 8. Now, you may be thinking that the figure 8 should be easier than level 1, and so I thought as well. After all, we're just linking a couple of circles and we have an unlimited amount of space to rotate the car. But very quickly, I got a big dose of humble pie.
So this is level 2, the figure 8, and we start by driving through this gate into the figure of 8. And immediately I over-rotated the car and managed to hit a cone.
Oh no, I got a cone.
Now if you do it all right, you won't hit any cones and you'll have a really clean transfer between the top section and the bottom section.
No. Oh wow, this is harder than I thought it was going to be.
Try and just manage your speed slightly better.
Yeah.
You let that momentum keep building and building and building, and then eventually it grips up and starts washing on the front. So consider you can either use your left foot to brake if you want, if you're comfortable with that. I mean, you've obviously got a racing background, so you might find that that'll be a little bit quicker to throw that
I
in.
keep forgetting the brake pedal exists. I keep forgetting the brake pedal exists.
Yeah, yeah. You need to use it at points. You'll kill a bit of speed out of the car. You just keep the weight on the nose.
Sure.
So yeah, use that on this run. And you'll find it tidies it up.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you.
Then finally, on lap 3, it was time to just finally nail it and put it all together.
So starting off the lap through the gate, I nearly spin into the cone just like I did on the first lap, but I recovered nicely. Top section's looking really good, flicking into the bottom section, still looking really, really nice. This could be the one.
That is, until I totally botched it again. Maybe it's just because there's so many different types of surfaces in this glorified parking lot, but it's so difficult to predict the grip in each part of the corner. But I don't think that was the only problem I was having on the figure 8 either.
That was much harder than I was expecting, actually. I've actually found that harder than the slalom. I don't know why, but...
Yeah, it's not as easy as you think, really. I think there's a real skill to it, really. I think you get to...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't do very well, but yeah, it's... you got more space, which is a good thing, really.
Yeah, I find the eye placement's harder.
Yeah.
I found myself like constantly looking at the nose of the car, like you're on the street.
Yeah,
and then I'm like, I lose track of where I am on track, and then that's when something went wrong.
That's a mistake I made as well, not looking ahead enough with it. So just focusing on the nose of the car. And but yeah, no, ultimately I got it. I got the feel of it a little bit better this time because I had more space. And I think that was the good news with it. So yeah, looking forward to the next round, see if I can improve with it. But yeah, I didn't do the course wrong, so I did it twice.
Oh, you did?
I did 2 8s in full, so got thrown off a bit. But other than that, yeah, it was. I was in the swing of it, I guess. But yeah, I did my donuts.
Well, let's try and make a little bit of improvement here.
On our second attempt on the figure eight, Frank managed to clean up his driving significantly, which was great to see.
He's definitely taking things a little bit slower than I am, but he's actually managing to save the car after getting into a slide, which is a monstrous improvement from this morning. You also notice he's using weight transfer to actually flick the car through the figure of eight, which is exactly what you want to see. But then for my laps,
I decided to try carrying even more speed and aggression, which was looking pretty nice at first, until it was a bit too much.
just look how much more speed I'm carrying into this figure of eight, which in theory actually sounds like a good thing for drifting because it makes it easier for the car to slide. But then the problem is I run out of RPM and it becomes much harder to then hold the slide. If first gear was just a touch longer in this car, my driving style would be perfect, but I need to adapt my driving style to the car, not the other way around.
Level 2 proved much more difficult than I was expecting, but luckily level 3 brings us back to some familiar territory. Level 3 is the same short track we did in level 1, only this time we'll have to link out of the high-speed last corner, through a gate, and complete a perfect donut around this cone. And maybe it's no surprise, but I immediately felt comfortable being back on this short track. Only this time, I'm getting more angle and my consistency feels like I've made a massive step. Also, my proximity to the final cone is pretty spot on too, so I think we're right where we want to be heading into level 4. What is level 4, you may ask? Well, this is the super track. We're combining the entire short track, including the donut. Then the coaches have added a brand new, ridiculously tight slalom middle sector that connects us to the figure eight back section, only now we have an additional counterclockwise donut to finish off the lap. This is the layout we'll be evaluated on in level 5, so I need to experiment as much as possible while I still can.
Alright, time for my first lap of the super track. This is going to add a whole new level of complexity.
Little rusty after lunch.
And because it's a much longer lap, my concentration is going to have to stay a lot higher as well. I'd say so far so good, but this is the section of the track I should already know. This is essentially the short track with the donut. But after I complete this donut, we head into the completely new section, the middle sector, which is a lot more complicated than anything we've done thus far. We start off with this very slow speed section where it's very easy to stall the car, followed by another medium speed slalom.
This is tight.
Then once we get through the medium speed slalom, we'll be back into familiar territory on the figure of 8.
Back in the figure eight.
Even though I should be pretty comfortable with this section of the track now, my rear temperatures are much higher since the lap is a lot longer now.
Once more.
But so far so good. This has looked pretty good for our first super track lap. That is until we head into the last donut, which is counterclockwise, making it a little bit difficult since this is a right-hand drive car.
Okay, wasn't the worst for a first try, but lots of work to do. Let's see what the coaches have to say.
You're just trying to link up off that top end to that donut. Obviously it's on the wrong side of you as well. You'll have to get much tighter second time around that top end to set yourself up to then be able to come in later. Does that make sense?
To do an extra transition, or even if you're trying to do it all the way?
You're welcome to throw a transition in, but see if you can just link it up in one big one. But it just means you have to get incredibly tight on the last cone as you round the top.
Right.
To then be able to then from that point rotate in.
Okay.
So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. You almost need to try to keep the speed down until later on in that figure of 8, so then you can really accelerate into that space.
Okay, gotcha. Cool, thank you.
My first lap on the super track felt damn near perfect. I definitely have some small bits and pieces to improve, but if this is our baseline, we might just win the shootout that's coming up in a couple minutes. But then for my second super track practice session, in typical British fashion, the rain started coming, which completely changed everything. Now, certain sections of the track felt totally normal with this relatively low level of rainfall. But because there are literally over a dozen types of surfaces in this parking lot, the grip is nearly impossible to predict. And now places I was previously really strong in are in complete shambles. So as you can tell by my hood and probably the rain behind me, it's getting a little bit wet, to the point where now the surface is definitely damp enough to notice a difference, which is why I was understeering so much in the last run. And the understeer wasn't because the rain makes it understeer, it's because I was still left foot braking with the same amount of pressure, which was just locking the inside front wheel and yeah, creating that understeer, which is not what you want in drifting. So the solution is I need to be a lot more gentle with the brake, or maybe not even use it at all. But yeah, I've got one judging lap to get it all perfectly right, and I've not even done it on the big track yet. So yeah, and with these changing conditions, this is going to be a tough challenge. And James has been doing perfect runs now. James the sim racer has been absolutely flawless this whole afternoon. So if I want to beat him, this run has to be nothing less than perfect. Let's see if we can do it. But my time for practicing is up. Level 5 is upon us, our one and only judge lap on the super track. I know I can do it, but with this rain, it's going to be so difficult to feel out the grip on this track. One lap's not easy to put everything together. So this is your first taste of like race pressure.
That's what I was trying to do on the last one with it. I was just trying to make it, perfect, not go too fast, but go through every cone properly. I just didn't get it right. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to make it work for the last one and be judged at the same time. So I hope I'm not.
Just gotta pretend it's not judged. I think that's the trick.
Yeah, maybe. But
just to practice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's hope I don't bring kind of the cone back into the tent like last time.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Everything you've done so far today, everything you've done your entire lives, right, has built up to this one moment to become the Caterham Drift champion. All right, we're going to give you one run, and we're going to be scoring you on several criteria. You're going to be scored out of 10 on our slalom. You're going to be scored out of 10 on the donut, out of 10 for the figure of 8, and then we have a final 10 points available for what we call speed and style. All right, so this is your chance to add a little bit of extra flamboyance. It's definitely going to be style over speed. All right, this is where we get some hands in the air around the donut, that sort of thing. And if you get a bit of a cheer from everyone else watching, then extra bonus points for that as well, I think. There are penalties. If you hit a cone, it is a 5-point penalty. So judging by earlier, some of you will be in the minus figures. We have had a minus 26 before. So we're going to get you out one at a time, and you're going to be the only car on the course so that we can score you. We're a bit disappointed there's been no bribes, so this is your last chance to bribe us before we start, all right? Absolutely, yeah, of course we do. Pretty well down for that. The only difference is, as well, that this time you'll be starting on the flag, Dave. Demonstration of the flag wave, please. Here we go, we'll start on the Union Jack, and that's when we're going to be going, all right? So let's have those first 4 drivers ready then, please.
First up was Frank. The track is significantly wetter than it was in level 4 just 30 minutes ago, so we're all in for quite the challenge here. Perhaps Frank was being extra cautious for his judge lap, but I have to say his car control has come a long way since this morning. Many of the other drivers were really struggling to cope with these extra damp conditions. It was looking like a half-decent lap might be all it takes for me to secure the win today, until a couple of drivers pulled off some incredible performances. Lap might be all it takes for me to secure the win today, and then it was my turn. Now, knowing there have been a couple of monster runs done by the other drivers, this run would have to be nothing less than perfect to take the win today.
All right, here we go. One lap, no mistakes. This has to be the one. Okay, already you can feel the track is so much greasier than the last time I drove. A lot of rainfall has come down in the last 20-30 minutes. I feel like I'm constantly on the verge of spinning, but I'm just managing to keep the car under control, and I spoke too soon. Well, we're certainly going to get marked down for that mistake, but hopefully the rest of the lap we can keep clean. Remember, the biggest thing we don't want to do is hit a cone, but we can definitely try and get some style points while we're at it. Now, if you're listening carefully, you'll hear that my throttle trace is going to be completely different because you don't need a lot of throttle to actually spin the tires in the wet. I'll be honest, this mid-sector is the sector I was most worried about in the wet, and so far it's looking actually fairly decent. Well, depending on your definition of decent. I'm going to do my best to play it off, and hopefully the figure 8 looks nice, although the figure 8's probably one of the most difficult sections since we have so many different types of tarmac here. I'm utilizing every bone in my body to resist just whacking on the throttle because I know I'm just going to instantly spin. Alright, we managed to survive the figure of 8, one last donut, and we're home free.
Oh, that was so difficult.
Was it the perfect lap? No. But I also noticed that the other competitive drivers had some small mistakes of their own, so I reckon it's gonna be very close. In the end, it came down to literally 3 points between the top 3. James, the sim racer, finished 3rd, just 1 point behind me, and David took home the win, 2 whole points better than my run. I didn't get a chance to see his run myself, but I hear it was a very, very impressive lap, so well deserved. Let me be clear, this video is not sponsored by Caterham. I paid for this experience myself like anyone else. But regardless, I'd highly recommend doing one of these days if there is one near you, because I had an absolute blast. The coaches were top notch and they were super detailed. The cars were brilliant, and to be completely honest, you couldn't go wrong. Check out their information in the description and be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for all things racing. Anyways, with that all being said, I will see you guys on the next one.